Hello, everybody, internet goers. We are back for episode 3 of season 2 of Game Chat. The man above me, depending on how this is positioned, is what's your name there, sir?
Hello, folks of the internet. It is I, it is Tom, and chilling next to me is, of course,
That would be Lucas, or below you. We'll see. We'll see how this turns out.
you're to the left of me in my view, but I suppose it's however your window is oriented.
Depends
But
how the producer handles it. But hello and welcome. We are real excited to be, like I said, the third episode, keeping these consistent, coming out every Monday. And there's something else that's coming out that inspired the topic for this week's episode. There's a certain movie that's gonna be dropping on the 18th. And Tom, what movie is that? It's kind of a big deal, I think.
oh, Lucas, that would be the long-awaited Uncharted movie starring none other than the darling of Hollywood himself, uh,
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. Exactly. Yeah, very excited for that one. But we'll get into that a little later, won't we?
Yes, we will. So just a little preview there for the people. What's going on? We haven't talked as much. I wasn't able to make it to the Nintendo Direct stream, unfortunately, due to work. But what's been going on with you?
Yeah, I mean, according to the internet, like neither did I. I mean, I watched it. We tried to record it. I'm slowly growing when it comes to learning how to use a lot of different production softwares out there, such as OBS, and how to, we'll get, I don't need to bore you with the gritty, nitty details of audio and video production, but let's just say I made an oof. And that is why, unfortunately, there will be no video of Tom and his friends watching the Nintendo Direct. But in the future, we are now fully approved for live streaming on YouTube. So there will be lots more content like that coming where we can, tune into game announcements and showcases like that, do some streaming ourselves, Lucas. Maybe, get some gaming content going up there, play some Halo for the people, maybe do a fun run through of the Tiny Tina DLC that came out on PlayStation Plus this month for free. So, you know, the world is full of possibilities, and we're here to capitalize on them now that we know how to work OBS.
Absolutely. And even though there will be no specific video for the Nintendo Direct, we can get into that a little bit later in today's episode. So not a total loss, but
Keep it locked to our YouTube though. Please check us out. It's the video content is great. You can see our beautiful faces, and usually we have some accompanying images and footage that go along with our little podcast here. So keep it locked there, help us grow. Trying to please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Interact with us, guys. We're looking for more ways to interact with you, and we have a lot of different ideas in development, but we would love to hear more from y'all. Tell us what you're playing, what you think about the podcast. Comment on YouTube, share it with your friends, comment on Instagram, send it. A lot of people sending us DMs, replying to our stories, so that's a good start.
and I'll try to keep posting funny photoshops at you, Tom. I actually got
That
that was
one
the
was good.
first
That
that was the
good.
first post where I actually got a personal DM. It's like, which was your girlfriend, by the way, if you didn't know. She was a big fan of that post, so that was a real. I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out, but I'm happy it pleased the people.
I thought it was pretty good.
Well, thank you. I'll be honing my craft, but courtesy of Canva, by the
Oh
way, if
yeah.
anyone is looking for some graphic, what would you call that? A platform or?
Yeah, and also we were not paid for that.
Oh no,
Quite
we
the
weren't.
opposite. We pay for them.
Well,
So
we're on a free trial right now. We'll see.
yeah,
We'll see how that goes.
we'll get there. But what's been happening with you though, man? What's been going on?
Oh yes.
Anything
Oh
anything
right.
new?
What has been happening with me? I don't know if there's anything new in terms of gaming. I haven't been gaming too much. Work's been a killer. Just been staying late, helping people out. We had I don't know if it's too graphic. We had a dog come in yesterday that ate some like chicken bones or something. Which I guess because those aren't like, what's the word, decomposable, or
Sure,
they don't break down,
digestible.
whatever it is. Yeah, it causes major digestive problems. Yeah, no, it wasn't good. So she wasn't able to defecate is the medical term. So they were gonna have, when I was leaving, they were talking about having to like manually go up there. So I think I left work at a
Oh,
good time.
I'd say so. I'm telling you, man, we need to just make it its own segment. Lucas's crazy work horror stories.
Just
Because like
just animal hospital nonsense.
even when you were doing your last job, you were dealing with some crazy people quite a lot of the time. So I
Yeah.
feel like you always got some entertaining tidbits to share with us. So I look forward to them.
Well, thank you. Maybe we'll I'll have to keep a list of crazy occurrences. But yeah, that's really it. I've been trying to play Skyrim, but just haven't had the time. So hopefully over the next like day or two, I'll be able to get back into that. But but yeah, so nothing new with me. But I do know in terms of gaming, you have something new to discuss.
Oh, I mean, it's not necessarily too new. I talked about it a little last week, but it is a relatively new game. Let me tell you, folks, Pokemon Legends Arceus, absolutely phenom. Like that game's spectacular. Okay. I really, really, really like this game. It has me hooked. I tend to be busy. I don't play games almost every night, but this has really hooked me in that I'm actively trying to play Pokemon Legends Arceus for at least an hour every night. I'm about like 15 hours in at this point. I'm like a rank 3 survey core galaxy team member. I just got a Celestica flute, so now I can ride Weird Ear around and like do the balloon courses too. Guys, this game is spectacular. If you've been on the fence about it, I couldn't recommend it more. It's it has its flaws by all means. It's not the prettiest looking game by any means. Some of the trees and grass in that game literally look like they were pulled from Banjo and Kazooie back on the N64. It's very dialogue heavy. The tutorial is quite a slog to get through. Like, they give you little tastes at the beginning of like, okay, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you explore and catch Pokemon all you want. But then they just pull you back in for a bunch of crap dialogue you don't care about that you just like, okay, I want to get through this. So that's a little annoying. The story is intriguing, but there are a lot. They could just trim the fat a little and let you get to the real meat and bones of the game, which is, instantaneous catching of Pokemon. Like the near immediate effect of being able to do that at any time, like still blows my mind every time I do it. I'm like creeping around in the grass, making sure they can't see me. And then I'm like Hail Mary and Pokeballs, like at least 50 yards to hit him in the back of the head so they can't see me, catching them Bidoofs. I caught a shiny one the other night. That was pretty cool. I've never, fun fact, caught a shiny Pokemon in my life until Pokemon Legends. So, needless to say, it might be now my favorite Pokemon game. But yeah, guys, lot of stuff to do. Like, it's very task oriented. You feel purposeful and actually driven and a good need to complete your ultimate task of completing the first Pokedex in the Hisui region. Plus the battle system is really quick, snappy, and cool. Like you can run around in bat. It's like what a Pokemon battle should be, not you know a weird turn-based thing. It still is turn-based, don't get me wrong, but a little different. But it's cool stuff, guys. Rambling a little bit on that one, but that's my quick 5-minute review on Pokemon Legends Arceus. I'd give it a thumbs up.
To go a thumbs up. Solid, solid.
Way better than Skyrim. Out of 10.
Wow, unnecessary shot. I will pretend I didn't hear that, and we will keep this train rolling. But speaking of uh, Nintendo properties, how was that Nintendo Direct that you viewed on what was this, yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday at this
The
point in
ninth, the
time.
9th of
The
February.
9th. Yes. The February 9th, 2022 Nintendo Direct was, I'd say, probably like most directs, like a 6.6 out of 10. It had, as I was listing out the games I was excited to see, it had more than I initially had thought, but I left it feeling pretty lukewarm. There are a couple of unsuspected surprises that came out of nowhere. I was going into the show saying Mario Kart 9 or Riot. They did a very cool thing where, because if let's be real, Nintendo, like Rockstar never needs to make another GTA because they've been selling GTA 5 for like, I don't know, 7+ years now. I think that game came out in 2013.
We're going
Um,
on 9 almost.
yeah, exactly. It's a very similar story with Mario Kart 8. They've been milking that game for all it has. And as bad as I wanted Mario Kart 9, they now essentially they're doing a battle pass essentially for Mario Kart. It's called the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. And for $25 spread across literally the next year, they will be adding 48 more courses into Mario Kart 8 through all the different Mario Kart games, including Mario Kart World Tour, which is the mobile game that I hear is hella microtransaction-y. But that's literally doubling the amount of courses for $25. I just wanted more Mario Kart in my life, and I know Paige was also looking for that in hers. So we'll be getting this DLC, so I'm pretty psyched for that. Also, the one that came out of nowhere was the new Mario Strikers Battle League game. Did you ever play that back in the day, Lucas? The Mario
I think I
Soccer
played
game?
the second one, whichever one had like the dark cover. I don't know if that was the first one or second one, but
Oh
I
yeah.
like played that maybe twice and thought it
On
was
the
like
game, on
awesome.
the GameCube, or on the
Yeah,
Wii? Oh, on the yeah, yeah.
GameCube.
They're coming back with a new one, buddy. They're coming back with a new one. It looks
Ooh,
pretty hype. And it's eight
okay.
players, 8-player Mario Strikers. So, like with Smash, Nintendo's just like, here you go. We'll let mad people play. It's 4v4. It's
Hmm.
called Battle League because it's a very offensively based soccer game. I don't know.
Damn, sports just not caring about defense these days.
No, I mean it's Mario, man. They're getting power-ups and such, but it looks sick. I was always a fan of Mario Strikers. I did not see this one coming whatsoever, so was very excited about that. Couple of honorable mentions from the direct. Star Wars The Force Unleashed is dropping, and it looks like it runs really nicely on it, so I might pick that up. They're dropping Portal 1 and 2. Definitely will cop that and play that with Paige. Um, the new Kirby game looks pretty cool. I don't like the fact that he literally vores objects. I don't know if you've seen any of these. We'll throw some footage in, not footage, or footage or images in there at the end of what foreskin Kirby, as the chat was saying, looks like yesterday. But he literally swallows very large objects and then turns into them, but doesn't completely cover them. It's kind of gross looking. Um,
Okay.
yeah. And also the new Wii Sports, which is called Nintendo Switch Sports, which they're having a network test for next weekend, President's Day weekend. So we'll see how that one goes. I wasn't that crazy over it. Honestly, Wii Sports looks better, but that's, like I said, that's like a 6.6 out of 10 for a Nintendo Direct for me. That was really all I cared about. I'm sure there was stuff in there for people who are fans of random games that don't matter to me at least.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that was the Nintendo Direct. It was all right. It was all right. Wish I could have gotten some good footage to post, but next time.
Next time for sure. Well, you just gave the people a nice little recap there. So very informative stuff. There was some other news this week. I don't know if more minor stuff.
I definitely have an interesting story that I found on the internet, but did you see anything otherwise? before I go
I'm
again?
always looking for those little hidden gems of interesting tidbits. So I did see something this week that piqued my interest. So basically, what it is in Egypt they have this brand new thing
I love
where
the
it's
news
called.
stories you bring to me because I
I,
have never seen them.
that's what I'm going for. I'm not going for those headlines. Uh, it's basically, I'm sure, back in the day, right? We don't do this now, but our parents, they used to go to those drive-in movie theaters. And what they're doing here is it's just a drive-in gaming experience. And you just roll up and they give you roll up in front of a flat screen. They give you some controllers
Like a
and you just
TV
play.
or like a projector
Yeah,
screen?
no, it's a legit TV. And you just play games in your car. This says it's $3.18 an hour. I would imagine that is in Egyptian currency because that seems ridiculously cheap.
Yeah,
But
that does seem pretty well. Yeah,
yeah,
that does seem pretty cheap. Do they sell concessions?
I
Maybe
don't
that's where they're making
know.
all their money
And they
on
said like
Cheetos and
in the
Mountain Dew.
interview, this guy this article, the whole thing is like 5 sentences, and the video is like a minute, but the guy only talks for like the last 10 seconds. So I'm kind of speculating here, but like they do mention like when you're done, playing games or eating and drinking, like then you can just like dip. So I don't know if they
Mhm.
provide you stuff or if you just like bring like, the classic movie theater, like bringing your stuff from home. But
Oh,
people are
that
playing Mario Kart and other stuff. So and there were some PS4 controllers. So they definitely have like multiple systems. And yeah, you
for
can just
sure.
literally play it from the comfort of your car, which, they said this came out of like overcrowding and like COVID and stuff.
That's what I
So I
was
don't know
gonna
if this is a
ask if it
temporary
was a
thing.
COVID
Yeah. So
thing.
it could be here to stay though. Like because if you just don't have like, this particular, like the particular console you want to play or a particular game, like I guess you could just roll up and play for an hour or two and then go on with the rest of your day. So it's an interesting idea. I don't know if it'll like expand.
It's kind of like a thing they have at PAX East. And I imagine
Mhm.
other PAXs, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because there will be PAX East content. Trust. But
Whoa.
little tease for you there.
I
But
guess I'll have to
oh
get
yeah,
on that.
yeah. Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there for sure.
I'm gonna have to get some days off.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But at PAX, they have free play sections. They have like console free play, handheld free play, like retro console free play. I don't actually know if they still do the retro one, but they used to. You literally essentially go in, you give them your ID as collateral, obviously. And they're like, okay, here's a giant like 6-page packet of games, and they in one room, and they're like, tell us which games you want, and then you tell them which console you want to rent, and then you go into the other room on the side, which is just one big giant convention hall room filled with everything under the sun, from NES to PlayStation to, I've seen Virtual Boys there, old arcade cabinets. Oh, you've never even been to PAX, man. That's going to be an
I've not.
experience. Oh, let's go. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool, not gonna lie. I want that here. So
Mhm.
take a page from Egypt. Maybe we'll do that, Lucas. Maybe we'll do that, make a killing. They
We
have
should just
arc
go to Egypt.
Do they have barcades in Egypt? Probably.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe.
I guess we have that in the form of barcades, which,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love me a good arcade bar. It's always a good time. But that sounds more fun too.
You know what's not fun though, Tom?
What?
Getting arrested for doing something in a video game.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. So, ladies and gentlemen, I take you now to stellar reporting from I take you to stellar reporting from the BBC out of Russia. Long story short, a court in Russia sentenced 16-year-old Nikita Uvarov from Kansk or they say in parentheticals, the Krasnoyarsk territory to 5 years in prison on charges of teaching terrorist activities. And the case was based on the actions of teenagers within the beloved title, Minecraft. Essentially, this kid and a couple of his friends don't like the government in Russia, as I assume quite a numerous amount of people also feel. They were inspired by this guy who is a known like anarchist who has been suspected of trying to burn down the Federal Security Bureau building, like a local division of it. And from what I found in research, the FSB is basically what the KGB, it's like the modern incarnation of the KGB. So these kids got inspired and built the building in Minecraft and were plotting to blow it up in Minecraft. You know, it's fine. They're going to grief their own creation, whatever. And, you know, because apparently the FSB has all sort of access into tapping in to different communications, and they got found out and they got arrested. And the charges were, these guys were charged with creating a terrorist community. And the main guy who got it, because three kids were arrested, only one like stayed arrested. He was charged with, quote, passage of terrorist training. There's a little more to the story, definitely. Like they found out that like these guys had some like fireworks and were trying to make like homemade explosives at home. The defense was like, they're all really into chemistry, because apparently they're literally all really, really good chemistry students, and they were like doing homemade experiments. But you know, that along with the fact that they apparently also were posting flyers for people to join their Minecraft terrorist cell, you know, they got arrested. The kid said, quote, "I am a child. I am not a terrorist." And now he's in jail. So you did a good job, Russia. Locked up kids for playing Minecraft. Salud.
Wow, really thank you for that hard-hitting journalism, Tom.
Quack stuff, man. Honestly, I don't know what kind of world that I live in. Headlines just get more and more bizarre with every passing day. But here we are, talking about the important things that matter.
Of course.
Just like the meat and potatoes of this week's podcast.
Oh, wow. Transition. Yes, everybody. As we alluded to with the Uncharted movie dropping later this week, we thought now would be a great time to have that classic conversation of video game movie adaptations and why so many of them really struggle to hit the bar, and you know, maybe find some ones that do meet those expectations or exceed them, and just give our thoughts on some upcoming stuff later this calendar year that's coming out, because Uncharted is not the only video game movie to come in 2022.
This has been a really depressing topic to look into, if I'm being completely honest, because like,
yes,
dear Lord, so many of them are like,
so many.
It's almost justifiable to say like most are terrible.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like sure.
Sure.
a good one is not the norm, unfortunately.
No, it is not.
For clarity's sake, we say adaptations because we're not just covering feature films. This includes series as well as a couple. I at least have a couple of examples of licensed video games, those that are usually based on movies that are hits, you know, tie-in games, stuff like that. But we'll get into it.
Yes, the inverse. So you'd have, what would you call those, movie
licensed video games?
I think movie video games is more.
I mean, sure, but like
that's the direct opposite of video game movies.
Technically speaking,
although to be fair,
is a licensed game.
Yes, when I Google searched Yeah,
Yeah,
if you search
this is a
movie video
game
games,
based
they
on a
don't.
licensed IP.
Yeah, they don't realize they're just like, oh, Uncharted. It's like, oh no, I was looking for like
Like the Toy Story 2 video game on the Sega Dreamcast.
I didn't. Okay, well, you'll have to inform me of that. There actually are a lot more of those than I would have thought. Uh, those licensed game
Oh,
properties,
they're
but
everywhere. Those are they're equally as terrible.
well,
Like,
it depends. There's some gems out
no,
there.
there are
We can,
definitely some good ones. Those are a lot of them are bad though.
yeah, we could just start with the classic adaptation, which is the video game to movie, uh,
Yeah.
shtick, which is
Yeah.
it's been the classic. That's where most of that overlap comes in, and that really has been the longest running media, where going back all the way to the original, because now we're going to have a new one, but the original Super Mario Bros. Movie back in 1993.
Was that 93? That wasn't the 80s? I always
That
thought that was the
was,
80s.
I'm
Maybe it
pretty
was
sure.
being made in the 80s. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I could imagine that film had a lot of trouble getting off the ground.
I
Maybe
mean,
10.
you had a year, so you probably know. I'm just spitballing. But yeah, we'll start with the bad. We'll get into the good later. But tell us more about this. Tell us more about this classic film, Lucas.
I'd rather not talk about it. It's so bad. It's like
Have you
they
seen it?
just, no, of course not. Tom, Tom, Tom. I haven't seen
You
any
know,
aside from Detective Pikachu, which doesn't really count.
yes, it does. But go
It's
ahead.
not based on it's based on a video game franchise, not a specific, like that's a whole fresh, like that concept was like for the movie.
Well,
You know what I mean?
you know who has seen the original
The
Mario
original.
Bros. Movie?
Who was that?
Paige. Paige has seen this
Ooh.
movie. Paige, like, she was like, I didn't even realize it was Mario until like 2 years later. I thought I was just watching something awful. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, guys, like it's, I mean, that takes the cake. If you haven't seen this movie, people, I personally have not watched the whole thing start to finish. So I definitely can't speak, in like in depth
Just
about
if
it.
you're wondering at home, just like Google image search the Goombas from that movie.
We'll throw some images up, but like it's
Yeah,
essentially
it's bad.
yeah, it sort of it takes the cake of it. How do I put this? It
It's in name
essentially
only. They don't respect the source material at all.
exactly. It's an adaptation to the highest degree. See, this is a weird one to talk about because it doesn't do what traditionally bad video game movies do, in that it's taking a very beloved, and at that point, it's not as prolific. Prolific's a bad word, but prolific in the sense of catalog of games to go off of back when that movie was being made, as opposed to now, obviously. But tried to do like a weird thing in that they're going to make Mario hyper realistic. So Yoshi, who is a dinosaur, is actually a velociraptor looking ass motherfucker. He, like, the Goombas are disgusting. King Bowser, he's like a weird turtle human hybrid. Instead of trying to do a closer adaptation, they're going a hyper realistic route, in that they're also diverging more and more from what you think about when you think about Mario Bros. They almost made like this weird steampunky edge 90s movie that just didn't really work, and ultimately did what most bad video game adaptations do, in that they did not encapsulate near anything about the game.
I just mentioned that just because it is technically like the first one ever. So just kind of an honorable mention, but definitely like better off if it's not discussed.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've already discussed it, so we're in here.
Well,
So
no,
let's keep
from
rolling.
that, like, let's never mention it again. It was just for the sake of the timeline. The other big one was the Mortal Kombat movie in '95. I'm sure that one, like I had actually like seen parts of, a little more familiarity there. But by far the best part of that movie is they say flawless victory after every fight, even though like people like it's clearly not flawless because they're getting hit. So they didn't know what that meant, obviously. It's like that's something you should not mess up.
So this leads into my like number one reason why quite a lot of video game movies are bad movies. They
Mhm.
don't pick the right games.
Well, I wasn't even going to say that, but
I'm gonna
I
say
thought you were
that you
I
need
thought you were
to
going to go somewhere else, but we'll pick that up after your point here.
listen. Okay, so like Mortal Kombat, right? It's a fighting game.
Yes.
Does anybody really give a shit about the story of Mortal Kombat? No, they play it because it's gnarly, it's bloody, and it plays well. It's a fun
Mhm.
fighting game that is thrown back to our last episode about video game difficulty. Low floor, high ceiling. It's a great fun fighting game to play. Anybody can play Mortal Kombat and be like, oh damn, and have a good time and be freaked out by the bloody gore and visuals. But then you have the pros. None of that has to do with the lore of Mortal Kombat. So how the fuck are you going to make a movie about that? Like, where are you pulling this plot line from? And that just like takes the cake for so many other movies,
Mhm.
video game movies. It's just like, why did you pick this game? You know, like another example of that, like ET is the most infamous one I can think of. That like literally almost killed the video game industry. Well, it's a little different. That's actually more of a reverse. So never mind. Never mind. We'll get to that later. But
I was going to say, I thought what I thought you were going to say was a lot of the issues is that sometimes it's pretty obvious that the people working on these movies like did not play the game that they're like pulling inspiration from. Like obviously you want to appeal to a wide audience with like any movie, but you have to know if you're making an adaptation, like a decent portion of the fans that are going to be interested are going to be people that played said game. So if you're not like also one of the people to play it, like you're just going to screw stuff up that
yeah,
should be, common knowledge amongst like that player base. Definitely. Like again, I haven't had a movie that's turned to a game where I was like a fan of said game and I was like, oh, I need to see this. So I haven't had that feeling where it's like, oh, like they clearly messed all this stuff up. But some
I've
of the
had
games have
that.
been pretty popular that they've turned into get like movies. So I can imagine like people were like, how did you best mess up these like basic game elements? Like with, because some of these budgets are ridiculous. So it's like you think a game's only $60. Like you can't just pick it up and play it for a couple hours.
Budgets for the movies, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I completely agree. And I think that even extends into the cast, right? It's like they get all this money to make a good movie and they're hitting all the wrong elements. Like you said, they're the people writing and the crew and production staff don't play these games. They don't like know about them. And that even extends into the cast, right? It's like why what was the video game movie Ludacris was in? I think it was Max Payne. The Max Payne movie. They hired
Mm,
Mark Wahlberg to play Max Payne.
yes.
Which doesn't make any sense. They hired Mila Kunis to be the female lead. Also
Uh-huh.
doesn't make any sense. And then they hired Ludacris for some like grizzled detective part. And in the game, the detective is old, balding, and like fat and gross. But then you just have Ludacris in the movie. It's you need to have people who actually have some sort of connection to the source to be like,
Mhm.
oh hey, like maybe I have an input on this and maybe I care about this versus, oh, this is just another paycheck. Like Henry Cavill in The Witcher. He's
Yeah.
all over that shit. He's quoting the books. I don't understand And that is one thing you could be like, okay, hey, like maybe these movies need a bigger budget behind them to really, really get something going. But it's the sad fact is so many of them have too big a budget and they've blown on all the wrong things.
Yeah, no, I think what it is, honestly, is you need, this shouldn't be this big of an issue. I mean, we're going on like 20 years over, really, say, since that first movie in 93 with Mario Bros. But of just like these studios struggling to get this right. And like the comic book to movie adaptation, like that initially kind of had a similar struggle, not as long, of course, but
Oh,
there
I
were
mean,
some stinkers.
definitely
There
has
were some
been as
stinkers
long.
in there.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I mean, if you look at that, like there's been like comic book movies forever. It's like that's quote nerd culture that's been trying to be adapted, and now it's just the cultural zeitgeist. And you know why? It's because people who give a shit write the movies.
right. There's better people. That really is the main thing. I think if we just had some better, like if there were better people working on these movies, they would obviously like come out better, as like simple as that sounds.
Yeah.
Like that's what it takes sometimes. I mean, you just have to have the right people in charge who are like putting in this work to get the product to come out in a way that's just not like terrible.
Well, in that too, they're making all the wrong decisions. They're if they don't know what makes a game or a video game franchise special, they are not imbuing that same pizzazz into the movie. They're targeting all the wrong things, and more often than not, it's usually the big actiony. It's a weird aspect where they're like all the big cool action gameplay elements, we're going to put that into the movie. All the stuff that you are like actually interacting with because it's part of the medium, we're going to put that into the passive medium to make you feel like you're playing the game when you're watching the movie, i.e. the first person sequence in the Doom movie and all the free running stuff in like the Assassin's Creed movie or the Prince of Persia movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. They're
Mm.
targeting all these big set PC elements of the games that are definitely fun to play, don't get me wrong, but it's different because it's just a fundamentally different medium. Like when you're running through tight corridors, blasting like demons with the shotgun in Doom, the feeling of it's a lot different feeling than like watching that.
Mhm.
Watching something in first person, like watching a first person something, I don't know. It's to me, it's a little disorienting. And like with the Assassin's Creed movie too, I was so hyped for that movie. And honestly, it wasn't even that bad for 2/3 of it. But then it like, I don't know. They tried to do a weird thing where they tied it into the canon of the franchise itself. And I don't know. Again, I just think they had too much of a budget and blew it on location filming and making sure that they could actually leap off of a tall tower into a bale of hay instead of, hiring adept writers.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. A lot of the time, I think too, is you're struggling. Like the people making these movies are looking at them like they're video game movies, and it's like, no, if you just look at it's a movie, just make a movie. Like it's based on whatever it's based on. Because I mean, most movies, like there's not a lot of original, like a lot of the time it's based on, like if it's not comics, or before that it was novels. It was just like
And it
pieces
still
of
is.
fiction or
Still is
whatever.
too. Yeah.
And right, and it's like you're just taking this material and like adapting it to the screen. And so you're still making a movie at the end of the day. Like it's like you're not, it's like based on a video game, yes, but if you try to like target, it's like you're not, I don't know. It feels like they're trying too hard to like fit, like make it like really big on like, oh, the video game aspect. And it's just like, no, if you just make the movie good, like then it's just gonna be a good movie. Like people can
Make the
dislike it,
movie
but
first, adapt it, make the
yeah, if you want to
adaptation
throw in
second.
some references to the source material, like fine,
Yeah.
but like make it good first before and I guess there's also the parts where, right, like you said, what type of game makes a good a movie? Because you can also look at it the inverse, where, all right, what type of movie will make a good video game? Like there's obviously some types of movies, like 12 Angry Men, not a good video game. That's just not gonna.
I mean, yeah. Or The Sopranos, you know.
They could have actually focused, if they focused on like the actual mob part of it and like you're extorting businesses, they could have made it like interesting. If you're gonna like, that's what if you're gonna make these like adaptations, there has to be like, don't just take like Doom and then make it like a generic like zombie movie. Cause like the tone of Doom is like, it's like kick ass. It's like metallic music. You're just like killing stuff. But then the movie is like, everything is like, first of all, the movie's way too dark. You can't say anything. It's way too slow.
Yeah.
Like it's like this like
Which
horror thing,
right
and it's like
there,
that's not the vibe of the game.
exactly. Right there, you just nailed it on the head. It's too slow. I've never played any of the old Doom games, but I haven't played Doom Eternal, but I played the 2016 one. And like the entire it's almost like an on-rails shooter. It's so fast-paced. It's so like breakneck speed, wall to wall. Like you are shooting things, you are moving, and things are coming at you everywhere. And I think that right there is the core. I mean, this is obvious. It's a core issue. The medium's just, as much as film and gaming intersects as a medium, it works better for one than it does in other. Like you can have very cinematic narrative experiences within gaming. Look at The Last of Us, look at Red Dead Redemption, look at Ghost of Tsushima, look at God of War. God of War is a bit of an outlier because that game is just fantastic on all levels. If you haven't been able to figure it out, folks, Game Chat with Tom and Lucas loves God of War. Okay. And we should do more God of War content, and we will eventually. But anyway, they just, an interactive experience with the game is at its core what makes it a game. And the reason the cinematic elements work with it so well is because of the length of most games, especially those that are narrative driven. It allows you to just be with these characters in this setting and this story for a longer amount of time. And some people would say, oh, okay, well, that's what TV shows are for. Again, the difference is you are not only with these settings and people longer, you are these settings and these people. You are interacting with it. You are making a choice that affects the world and affects the different aspects of what's happening around you. Versus a movie, it is a curated, directed experience, which you show up, you sit down, and you leave, and then you reflect on. Like it doesn't work for these properties,
Well, let's talk about, because again, most of the time it doesn't work.
Sometimes it does.
There are a couple times it has worked. And I want to get into those briefly before we flip the switch and go the reverse of the adaptations. And I was looking through the whole list of video game to movie adaptations. And the only ones that have a Rotten Tomatoes score of 60% or higher, along with a Metacritic score of 50% or higher, are literally Detective Pikachu and Werewolves Within. That's it.
What's Sonic? What about Sonic?
Sonic just missed the cutoff. It got a 47 out of on Metacritic. It did get over. It got a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it is third. You can throw that in there too.
What's the audience
you can throw that
on Sonic?
The audience score? I don't know.
I'm looking this up.
Although it's got to be good enough to warrant a sequel, which is dropping this year. But you could throw that in there too. It definitely has. It has the third highest Rotten Tomatoes score,
folks,
out of all the games.
Sonic the Hedgehog has a 93% audience score with over 10,000 verified ratings. So
there you go. That's your top three. That's your top three. You got the Sonic movie, the Pokemon movie, and then the Werewolves Within. which
I've heard Werewolves Within
honestly,
is really good. We should check that
I
out.
based on the rating,
Is that the
it has the
Ubisoft one?
highest. Yes, it has an 85% Rotten Tomatoes and a 66 out of 100 on Metacritic. And I also have heard, again, that's a VR game, so like I didn't play that, but it's a mafia style game. But
I
I
don't think
also
it's
heard that movie was really good.
is Werewolves Within specifically a VR game, because I thought it was literally just based off of Werewolf, which is essentially just a
It
different
is.
version of the classic like campfire like social game Mafia.
So it says, right, it is based off Mafia. It's a multiplayer VR game for Oculus Rift, PlayStation VR, and HTC
The Vive, yeah.
Vive. I haven't heard of that, but yeah, that came out in 2016, and literally within less than 5 years, it had a movie.
For your
So
knowledge, the Vive is like the height of the VR platforms.
okay,
In my
but yes,
the Oculus is a whole nother thing because like Facebook owns that, but otherwise there's PSVR, which is PlayStation exclusive, and Vive, which is the one you can run on a PC. Yeah, there are definitely good ones out there, and
more recently, the ones that have been good,
definitely more recently. And
we might be hitting a curve here.
well, here's my thing with this, right? A lot of these good ones are aimed at children.
Well, that's fair. I mean, Pokemon is a like that movie was definitely like pretty like child friendly.
Same with
Detective
Sonic.
Pikachu.
Same with Sonic.
Yeah.
And you definitely have your outliers. Like, for example, the recent Arcane series is spectacular. Based on, of course, League of Legends, the incredibly popular Riot game. That series is incredible. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Definitely check it out. But that definitely is an outlier in terms of the kid-friendly ones. But when you are a children's movie, you have a lot of room to work with. And speaking of Sonic and Detective Pikachu, right? These two movies are based off of games that are huge. Pokemon and Sonic both started as games, but these are like multi-million dollar IPs. Pokemon's probably $1 billion franchise if Sonic is not, but I digress. Like, you can do anything with those, right? It's Pokemon and Sonic they're not super lore heavy, the story itself doesn't really matter to them, and it's just mascotting stuff. Like, Sonic started out as a 2D mascot platformer that was fun to play and that everyone got hooked to. Pokemon's a international phenomenon with a ton of cute little pocket monsters. Like, nobody cares about the story in Pokemon. When people play Pokemon, they care about catching the Pokemon, so it goes back to why quite a lot of the game movies are bad, in that they're not picking the right games. Sonic and Pokemon are enormous franchises that billions of people are familiar with, that they're sandboxes. You can play with them. You can do whatever you want with them, which allows themselves to do exactly what you said, Lucas. They can focus on making a movie first that is heartfelt, and when you're geared towards children and in the PG to PG-13 rating, PG-13 is way too broad of a rating system, but when you're in that PG-13 area, you have all the room in the world to play with. You can do whatever the hell you want with that. So it just allows them to essentially cook up what could be an easy home run kids movie, family movie that they can take their parents to see, that will make a ton of money, and just, oh, hey, you know what? We already made this movie. Let me put a Sonic skin on it. Let me put a Pokemon skin on it, and tweak a couple of things to make it work, And with the kids, with kids movies, they're just so like, they're already pretty low on plot anyway. So that's not what people are going to see them for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely see some more kid-friendly, games turned into movies, since that has kind of worked as of recent. And that Sonic movie will be, the sequel will be dropping later this year, and we'll
I'm gonna
see if
be
they're able
hyped.
to keep that up. But we'll get into that at the end. Real quick though, there's definitely been a higher success rate of the inverse, which is turning beloved movies and movie franchises into games.
Oh,
And
I have,
I
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Why do you think that is, Tom? And you can give some examples too if you want.
Again, that just allows you to take a passive experience and become a little more interactive with it, right? The two examples I like that I have fond memories of are specifically the Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue game that I had for Sega Dreamcast. And the one I remember way more fondly is the PlayStation 1 port of the Tarzan video game. It just like it allows you to travel along the plot line of a movie and just do what video games do and interact with it. It allows you to interact with the story. A lot of them tend to expand on the story, so it just gives you more of what you probably already wanted if it's a good enough movie where it's getting a video game. So, for example, the Tarzan game, it's a lot of fun. It's like I'd say it's a platformer, and you're just going through. It's pretty low stakes. Some of it's actually pretty difficult too. Is at least for me, that's what I found attractive was the difficulty of it. When I was like 8, I don't know,
Mm.
but yeah, like you're not really necessarily playing a different story. If anything, they're just adding more to it, but it gives you the sensation of being in an abstract sense in that movie. What are
That's
some what are some of
no,
the
that's
ones you have in mind?
well, yeah, again, going off that, like that you're taking kid forms of media and kind of converting it. So I definitely, as a kid growing up, enjoyed Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure, which was based off it was basically a skateboarding game where you could play through levels and with characters from the Toy Story, Lion King, and Tarzan movies. And that was just really fun. The best skateboarding course is by far Andy's room in that game. Just
Just
super, super fun.
just so you know, folks, our producer and wonderful production manager, Billy Amin, also huge fan of that game.
It's a great game. Like it's honestly really good. They had like the intro to that game is they show all this footage, like because the way they would capture like the moves is they had all these kids like come and just like do skateboarding stuff. And this is
No
like early
way.
2000s. Yeah.
So like
It-
so I know that game specifically was like the people who worked on a lot of the Tony Hawk skating games
yeah.
worked on that game too.
Well, it was right. I mean, it's like that era where it was kind of like the peak of like, skateboarding,
I
like
bet it's like the
interest.
same engine too.
I mean, hey man, it might
That's
be.
that's crazy. They literally like filmed
Oh
people.
yeah, actually it has the same engine for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
Nice.
So yeah. But yeah, like that's like you can tell like there was real effort put into that. Like, they wanted to make a quality product. It's also selling on eBay for $500. So there's definitely a demand. But yeah, like that was one of my favorite games as a kid that was based off a movie. The other one being Shrek Super Slam, which was basically Smash,
Yo,
but with
that
Shrek
game was
characters.
sick.
Really good. Not quite as good as the not sequel, but the sequel uh Shrek game, which was a Mario Kart
I didn't like the Shrek
version of Shrek.
racers.
Not
I
as
like the
good.
Brawlers one
Not
way
as
better.
good.
You know what's
Brawlers is
even
definitely better.
better than that? That's another DreamWorks property. Oh my god. Henry's gonna
What?
kill me if I get this title wrong, so I have to look it
Oh,
up. I believe it is Kung Fu Panda Legends. Oh geez, Legends of Awesomeness is the series. What's the game? He's gonna kill me if I get this wrong. No, I think it is. I think it's just Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness is literally the game. That is literally like bit for bit Smash Bros with Kung Fu Panda characters. And
that's a good idea. That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
It's cheap and cash grabby, but it's like, that's the kind of thing that will draw people in when you're talking about movie to game adaptations, right? You could literally do whatever the hell that's why they can do better, because you can be like that Tarzan game, or you can be like some of these games we just discussed where it's like, hey, let's make a video game and then literally slap a Disney skin, a Shrek skin, a Kung Fu Panda skin on it. And if it's a solid game, then hate to blow people's minds, people are going to buy it, which is what they should just do with the movies. Draw them back to it.
No, it's just they have a lot easier time. Obviously, and then there's like some ones where like the GoldenEye game is like one of the best games ever, apparently. Like it's on a lot of people's like top 100 lists, which is literally just like, oh, it's an FPS and you play as James Bond.
Dude, if you
like that simple of a concept, but if the shooter is good, it's gonna be good.
Oh yeah, GoldenEye is historic, bro. Like even the poorly aged N64 version, like they did a reboot on the Wii. I know people have made PC like mods / ports of the game, which you can just play it via network connection.
Heard that's the way to go.
It's a lot better. People just love those, and they tend to work out a lot more. With the movies, though, kind of to spin it a little bit, people are a lot more susceptible to these video games that are good video games that they can then wrap around a movie. The best game movies are those that are about games, not necessarily a pure adaptation of a game itself, but a movie about video games, such as, in my opinion, one of, if not the best video game movie of all time, Wreck-It Ralph. Like, hands down, spectacular in every way. It really, you had a ton of different properties in there, from Sonic to Bowser to Zangief was in there. I'm pretty sure if Sonic's in there, Eggman's in there too, but the entire movie centers around a video game bad guy, and the entire setting is within, like, it's a movie about games. And yes, Wreck-It Ralph is a game, but obviously they can just pull what they showed in the movie that the game was, make it its own game. It's fun enough. It's an 80s arcadey style game, but the movie is charming. It's spectacular. It gives you all the things you want as a video game fan while still being a wholesome, like, funny, good movie. And you know what? Also a kids movie at the end of the day, but it's one of the best kids movies that also appeals to adults.
Definitely. No, I forgot about that movie, but it was definitely like
so good, right?
Yeah, no, like exceeded my expectations for sure.
Absolutely ruined its legacy with the sequel, but
I did not see that, so but I probably won't if it's gonna hurt my opinion.
They brought memes into it, and right then and there I was like, I'm done with this.
Okay, thank you for steering me clear of the sequel.
There's a lot of video game adaptations out there, including a ton more that are up and coming. So like, quickly, let's just go through some of these up and coming adaptations.
Yes, we've already mentioned two.
Yeah, go talk to me about them.
Well, so
we'll go through
the one dropping,
just a quick thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yes,
what we think.
The one dropping next week is, of course, the Uncharted movie, which is gonna follow a young Nathan Drake, so kind of like a prequel type deal. And that's coming out on the 18th. Oh, and it's not the young Hollywood star is not Mark Wahlberg. It is Tom Holland. That's who's going to be playing Nathan Drake. But
Love that
yeah, I
guy.
mean, I think I didn't. I have yet to play the Uncharted stuff just because I didn't have a PlayStation when all those games were coming out. But I mean, from what I've seen from the trailer, it just looks like an interesting movie in and of itself. So I think that will do pretty well. So I would give that a thumbs up.
So how I'll speak on the Uncharted movie is that it is only an Uncharted movie in name alone. It is incredibly generic looking. That being said,
Hmm.
still looks like a good time at the movies. I love Tom Holland, so I'll go see anything he's in. But I'm excited to see what kind of elements they bring into that actually tie it back to the series itself, because if I had never played Uncharted, I would not by any means assume that this was a video game movie. That being
Right.
said, Uncharted is, a like we said, property that doesn't need to be a movie. It is already enough of a movie in and of itself in the games. If you really want to watch an Uncharted movie, ladies and gentlemen, just go play Uncharted. I promise you, it's great. I don't by any means think the movie will be bad. I will definitely be going to see it, but we'll see. Uncharted specifically always hasn't, spoilers for all the Uncharted games, there's always a slightly supernatural element they bring in at the end, and this seems to be not canonized. It seems to be doing its own thing. Um, so I'm interested to see what they do and what they pull. Sort of like another upcoming property that I'll throw into the hat is the upcoming Halo series on Paramount Plus, which from all the research I've done also is not canonized within the games itself. It's essentially being like, oh hey, let's take the world and setting of Halo and like do our own thing with it. I'm as not a huge Halo person. I've only really gotten into it now that I've started playing it on PC. I never really was an Xbox guy. I'm cautiously optimistic, so I'll give that one a thumbs up. But what do you think about that one, Lucas?
I'm cautiously optimistic for that series, but we will see. Again, with anything like being a video game adaptation, I am a little like hesitant. You kind of have to prove me wrong before I give you my upward thumbs.
You seem to be pretty in tune with what's going on in the Halo story based on your reaction to me of Halo 5. So I do like, if you're taking an already pretty narratively driven series, I do respect when you decouple it from the universe that they've built in the games and sort of try to build your own story in that aspect.
Mhm.
I've mentioned we mentioned before that Sonic is coming out with a sequel. um I'll be seeing the Sonic sequel 100%.
That drops April 8th for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah, it will also probably be pretty good, or as good as the first one was. Like I said, pretty geared towards kids. So if you like it, you like it. One I did want to bring up is drawing back to the very beginning of this discussion,
Yes.
is the upcoming Super Mario Brothers movie, animated this time, not live action. Thank God, not live
Yeah.
action. It is an animated movie done by Illumination, who makes hit films such as Despicable Me and The Minions. Um, Starring quite a voice cast. I won't even go there, but what are you thinking about this one, Lucas? I'm cautiously optimistic because I love animated movies, and Minions was fucking fire. So we'll see. I don't know about the Chris Pratt as Mario thing, but we'll see.
I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with revealing the cast list before, because I mean this movie still technically it's coming out at the end of the year. December 21st is what they currently have at the release date, but there's still no like footage and it
Oh,
technically doesn't
that's
have a title.
yeah, that's a
So
placeholder release.
yeah, I feel like they almost would have been better off if just when they released the trailer, then being like, oh, like here are like the voices of the people like that you heard, rather than like having that meme fest with the reveal of who's playing who, and then it's just been months and nothing. So that kind of hurt, I think, the hype. But again, if the trailer comes out and it's looking good, I feel like they can rebound. But there was a lot of just so many like people shitting on that reveal.
Don't get me wrong, some of those cast reveals I was like kind of excited for. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think Jack Black as Bowser and Keegan Michael Key as Toad.
It was more his like the announcer's reaction to like why people were
Chris
in it.
Pratt, he's so cool.
Yeah, that's like it was like, is this real? Like, if people initially were like, oh, like this is a joke, and then it's like, no,
I still
this
kind
is
of think it
legit.
is a joke. I don't. They say
Well,
he's
I guess it's a
doing.
joke until it's official. So we'll be waiting for those trailers and official names.
They say he's doing like his own take on the voice. I just like, why didn't you just get the dude who voices Mario and like all the other Mario, like just get Charles Martinet? It's
Just
animated.
because Chris is a cool guy.
You know what they are doing for the Sonic movie, which I, in the context of the Sonic movie, I found kind of weird. They have Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic. They have Jim Carrey playing Eggman. They have Idris
Mhm.
Elba voicing Knuckles.
Right.
But Tails is being voiced by the voice actor who does Tails in the games. So I don't know, like maybe they just couldn't
Mhm.
find someone to get Tails, so they're like, maybe Tails will be Tails, but I don't know why they just didn't do that with Mario.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out once we get some more info on it. But those are the 3 video game movies that are dropping this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's a lot of other ones coming in the future, but
TBA.
let's just speculate that all of them will be a 5 out of 10 at a minimum at this
Okay.
point.
Optimistic. We'll see.
I like to be optimistic about these kinds of things.
Well,
Oh,
that's a good outlook to have.
I try. Any final thoughts, Lucas?
Any final thoughts? Final thought is, as Tom said at the beginning of the show, keep it locked on our Insta, keep interacting with us. We hope you enjoyed this serving of game chat with Tom and Lucas, and we hope to see y'all again soon.
Like our photos, comment on our photos, subscribe to our YouTube. It's all in a link tree. It's all in our bio on Instagram. Please, folks, please, at game chat _ Tom Lucas. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you want us to talk about. Help us help you, people. We want to hear your opinions. So we give you our opinions. That's the point of the podcast. So let us hear some of yours.
We should have our fan base start their own podcast, and then we can really just hear the people that way.
Our podcast will just be a react podcast to the fans podcast, which is a react to our initial podcast.
Just never ending content. It's perfect.
Endless loop.
endless loop of content. But yeah, that'll do it for episode 3, season 2. And again, also let us know if you guys are planning on seeing the Uncharted movie coming out Friday. And if you do end up seeing it, let us know what you thought. We'll see if video game movies have just reached that turning point.
I'll be seeing
I'm
the
hopeful.
movie. Lucas better
You'll have to let the people know
what
you think.
But yeah, keep it locked, folks. Love y'all. Peace out. See you next Monday.
Peace, everybody.